Dun, 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 I guess we're done. Nice to see everybody. Hi, my name is Dean. Lachlan's here as well. It is time for the program, and it is a heavy day today. Yeah, it's funny because we finished with Tom Marazzo, which we'll talk about. Recap of the Tom Marazzo. You couldn't make it, which is a shame.
I want your thoughts on that.
Yeah.
I really do. I missed that show. That show.
We'll get to it, but we were busy with Tom Marazzo yesterday. It was like a 3.5, almost 4 hour podcast. 4 hours. Like I fucking got to the end of it. 4 hours almost. 4 hours. It's a 4 hour conversation.
I thought there was a mistake because I literally went to. I'll just tell everybody we're in the middle of trying to buy a house right now, and
empty nesting. So you're moving into what you're doing, what all the old people do.
Going into a condo. It's not quite that, but
kind of, sort of.
We are changing our lifestyle. I'm gonna get a scooter.
The old people lifestyle. You're gonna get a tracksuit too. You're gonna start wearing tracksuits, leisure wear.
Now that you bring it up, it's something that I'm not gonna say no to.
Attaboy. You're making a change. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you couldn't make it because you're buying a smaller place. So because you're empty nesters and you've done a good job raising your kids.
And there's this thing with the inspection report or whatever, right? So what ended up happening is I had to go down and I had to check. There's something wrong with the windows, so we're trying to get them to agree to replace the windows. I think it was a manufacturer's error. So anyway, not the long story short, but I came back and I was doing some work for the show, my other show in the mornings, The Locker Room here in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, 95.7 Cruise FM. We play the hits and put a smile on your face. And I saw my YouTube. I opened up my YouTube page to check, and it said Dean Blundell live, and I'm like, well, that's got to be a mistake because it's like 9 o'clock in Toronto right now. That can't be happening. Apparently, you did go all day.
Yeah. That was almost 3 hours. So we'll recap that and we'll kind of cover it and we'll talk about it, which is fascinating. But it was heavy yesterday. It was a heavy conversation, right? And you're taking bullets from everybody on that side and this side. And it was like, why are you platforming him? This is great. I hate you. I hope you die. Like all that stuff for like 4 straight hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, the comments, like other people in the section, there's thousands and thousands of comments, and I'm grateful for all of them. And it means that people are watching, which is fucking awesome, right? But it's just it was heavy, and so I was thinking about it today, and I knew you were coming back as you're getting your house shit in order, and I'm like, Locke's going to be here today. Let's have some fun. So I was like sourcing some videos of like fat people running into each other and like
never a bad
slapping their dad in the dick, that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
you just have some fun, have a light show. So 10 o'clock this morning, there I am farting around. I get this little buzz across my phone. This is like, well, what's this? That's the Queen is very sick. The Queen of England is incredibly sick. And I'm like, oh, yeah, she's been sick she's 96. She's been sick since she was 80. I mean, like, it's fucking part of the deal.
Well, I don't know if that's the case.
She's been sick for 16 years. It's got to be like close to it. And then I turned on
she was pretty healthy.
She was 96, yeah. And I think Phil lived. I think he crossed 100.
Phil was 99.
If I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
No, he didn't get to 100. He got to 99. I think Phil, the passing of Phil might have expedited her passing.
Yeah. I was hoping to get another 6 to 8 months out of her. She's 96, dude. Like, there's maybe she was like sorrow, sadness. You mean?
Yeah, I think at that stage in your life when you've outlived everybody.
Yeah.
And you lose the people that are really, really close to you. There was a like she had a nickname, Lily Burger or some fucking
Lilibet.
thing. I don't know what.
Lilibet.
Yeah. And they said, you know what, when Phil died, he was the last one that could get away with calling her that, right?
Yeah, Lilibet.
So
that's what he called her? I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so I think, every once there's videos of them doing formal functions and him leaning in and saying something in her ear, right? And her genuinely laughing. Like you could tell that there was a relationship there. There was something a little bit more than just, hey, you two should marry because Yeah.
Yeah,
anyway.
that's them having a laugh. They seem to like each other. Apparently
he died
several months ago.
Yeah. Apparently he was quite he was quite a crack up, right? Like
Yeah.
he would get the room going, and
he's
and
also incredibly racist.
Well, and dirty, I heard too. Like,
oh yeah, filthy. He loved filthy jokes. He was totally racist. He's just an old fucking 100-year-old British guy. That's like, yeah, fuck, this is how I grew up. But after I get the theme that says I go, the Queen's so sick, I go out, run a couple errands, come back, park my ass on the couch, start doing a little work, prepping for the show, light show. Again, I'm like, let's get videos of elephants sticking trunks in each other's asses. That'll be a fun show today.
You got that video?
No, I don't. But boom.
Oh, okay.
Well, and here's why: is because the Queen died like about an hour and a half ago, maybe 2 hours ago. Rumors are that the Queen, she was in Balmoral, Scotland. It was like one of her favorite places to be. She had several castles in and around the Highlands. Balmoral was her favorite, apparently.
Yeah.
And she hadn't been able to leave there for some time, wasn't healthy enough to go to Buckingham. But like even last week, she welcomed the new Prime Minister of England, Liz Truss, who's like her 15th Prime Minister that she said hello.
That's insane.
Isn't that fucking nuts? 20 Summer Olympics. She's been to 20 Summer Olympics.
That's crazy.
Isn't that fucking crazy? 20 Summer Olympics. She's been around since JFK. She's been around since I think she ascended to the crown in like 1952. 70 years, 127 days she was on the throne for. Like, that is a fucking long time to be at work. And she was always at work. Like always at work. But to your point, lose your husband, maybe you lose the purpose, maybe you're like, that's so she died today.
We don't know what those relationships are like, and how much strength one might draw from them, right?
Right.
And if you're 96, and you lose someone that close to you, I think it has that. I mean, they talk now about how much anxiety and stress and pressure of life, how much of an impact that truly has on our, not just our mental health, but also our physical well-being. And there's a lot of studies right now. I mean, and I think the pandemic brought a lot of that conversation on. Right?
Yeah, it did. Just fucking wild. I mean, like, I was thinking about it today. My family's from England. I was born there, have dual citizenship. And my parents, well, my mom more than my dad. My mom loves the monarchy, right? Like, grew up with it, spent 25 years in England before she moved here. She was like a post-war baby. She's 70 in her 70s right now. She was like 1 or 2 when the Queen became the Prime Minister. The Queen, when the Queen, her dad died, and it was just boom, boom, boom. So she's like, this is all she's ever known. Like, is all my mother, who's 71, has ever known is this lady is the Queen of England. Fucking wrap your head around that. Like, for 70 years. And this woman, listen, we'll have a little chat about colonialism, and we'll talk about slavery, and we'll talk about the Commonwealth, and we'll talk about the terrible parts of the monarchy, because there's fucking lots of them. Now, today's not the day, but this woman was literally England in flesh form for 70 years to these people. So when they looked at her, they didn't see someone taking their taxes. Maybe someone else did. Then when they looked at her, they didn't see this woman who was like just this crotchety old chick who was on the throne of England and did nothing to deserve it. She was literally didn't want to do it. If you ever see The Crown, fucking unbelievable episode. Unbelievable series, by the way. The Crown, which kind of gets behind the scenes. They fantasticize
Never watched it.
But it's fucking unbelievable. But when her dad died, and it was this freak story, because her dad's brother was the king. He leaves, abdicates, right? Because he wants to marry this divorcee named Wallace Simpson.
from the States.
Yeah.
So he fell in love with a divorcee. So
right, and he was.
That's why the Charles thing's confusing.
Yeah, because Charles is not the son. Well, no, because it's he's not the king. Like they got married before he ascended to the throne of king, and he's going to be the next
Charles,
king.
the new king here.
Yeah.
He left he got a divorce, and he was sleeping around with somebody else that had a divorce, yet they're going to make him king.
Well, not only are they making him king, but it's a little bit different. Guess what she is? She's now the queen consort. Charles's side piece is going to be the Queen of England. How fucking awesome is that?
There's hope for all of us.
Yeah. So if you're someone's side piece and you feel like someone's leaving you in the lurch and they should make a commitment to you, this could be you one day. Right? Camilla, the queen side piece. She's going to ascend to the throne. Charles is going to ascend to the throne.
Could be Prince Philip.
You mean Prince Andrew?
Prince Andrew, sorry. Could be Prince Andrew taking over.
I could wonder how long it's going to take Chucky to jettison Prince Andrew into the woods now that his mom's gone. He's like, fuck, get that crazy pedophile out of here. So yeah, it's weird, right? Because he's a divorcee, but because he's a divorcee, he got divorced prior to being the King of England. Now he's the King of England, and he got married to this lady prior to the actual ascension of the throne. Yeah, apparently that's how it works. She's entitled to be the queen. The queen, the now dead queen, is given this queen and the new king her blessing. And good news, he's keeping the name Charles.
Oh, I was hoping he would.
Yes, Charles. He will be known as King Charles III. King Charles III.
Can I just throw something out there?
Sure.
And I want to be. I'm cognizant of the fact that my views of the royal family, like, no one cares what I think, and nor should they. Mm-hmm. And it's also on the day, hours after we just lost the Queen. Mm-hmm. But I gotta tell you, I'm sad for the loss of a human being that had and it could be worse. Like we just talked about Prince Andrew, it could be worse. We could be all under our breaths going, oh, she's good, but she actually had a positive impact on the job that she did and the world that we live in. So that's a blessing. But I've never gotten it. I've never understood it. When I found out, because I don't follow it at all, like I have absolutely less than zero interest in the royal family. You didn't watch
William and Kate's wedding? You didn't watch Harry and Meghan's wedding? You don't follow you're not a royal watcher?
I care nothing about that shit.
Yeah, I know. Me neither.
Nothing, Dean. Absolutely nothing. And yeah, maybe that makes me an absolutely horrible person, but and again, it's part of who I am. It's my wiring. I don't put people up on pedestals. I understand the world that we live in. I understand there's a hierarchy. I understand that certain people, whether they deserve it or not, achieve certain levels of success and notoriety in the world that we live in just based on how we all view things. I just don't put people up on, like, when we have mayors come in, I'm like, I always look them right in the eye and I go, listen, Jerry or Susan or Bucky, whatever your name is, I'm not going on.
Your worship? You don't call him your worship?
I can't.
But you're supposed to call him mayor. You're supposed to call him your worship. You are.
I can't do it.
You should.
I can't. I'm just not wired that way. Dean, here's the thing. Just because you flew out of the right vagina makes you what? Okay. You just you won some vagina lottery. And we're all supposed to. We still pay money. I know that's horrible. This is why I told you before we started, you shouldn't have me on talking about this, because I have very strong opinions about this. Why are we sending them money? Like, what benefit do we get from being part of that? The Queen was getting money. The royal family will continue to get money from Canada just so that we can say that we're... What? Explain that to me.
Well,
why?
I just looked it up, and I know that we give a lot of money to the monarchy every year, but if you want to know how much, you're going to be fucking angry. Like, if I've already done
this dance. I've already done this. We did this on the air a couple of years when I found out, when Grant told me. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And then he read me the amount, and then I walked up to the window and contemplated jumping out of our 7th floor building. It's millions.
$58.8 million a year.
Like, somebody, and you're free to. I'll even, like, I don't watch the comments. I can't. I get so distracted by it. Somebody convince me that's okay, and I'll try. I honestly, I swear to God, on the day of the death of the Queen, I'll try to have an open mind about why we still live under that umbrella here in Canada.
Why we send them $58.7425 million a year to the monarchy. Yeah. We send almost 60 million a year of your money, my money, this entire country's money. Hey, listen, tough day to bring up the fact that we subsidize the royal family to the tune of 60 million a year with our taxpayer dollars. That's tough. It's tough. I mean, hey, listen, this wasn't a good time. Do you think I wanted to talk about this? No, I didn't even know that we did until Lachlan brought it up. I'm like, fuck, let's go to the Google machine and figure it out. And what I just brought up was a fact that they send close to $60 million a year here in Canada to the royal family every year, just because she's on the 20. Maybe it's like, maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's a royalty fee for being on the money, which is another thing. That's going to cost us hundreds of millions of dollars to change our money. It's going to cost us all kinds of money.
No, because we got to put the King Dick now on
well,
there.
Dude, and then you got to take down all the pictures here in Canada. See, and this is the problem with living under a monarchy, which Canada, I know we've got our own thing going here and the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, and I know we separated from England a long time ago, and we've got all that stuff. Great, good, thank you very much, awesome. But, we don't realize how much that history of what Canada is under the banner of England and the Crown of England, which we have been for a very long time, how much it's going to cost us, not just to change, the money, but to take down pictures, put up new pictures, because you got to put King Chucky up there, and maybe even the Queen. I don't even know. Like, do you put Queen Chucky and King Chucky and Queen Camilla up there because you got a king and a queen for the first time in 70 years, first time in our lifetime, our parents' lifetime. We're gonna have a legit king and a legit queen. Seems fair. And when you think about it, kind of makes the fact that Queen Elizabeth never made Prince Philip a king really kind of funny now, doesn't it? It's like, no, but you're never going to be king. You're not king material. You're none of those things. And then she's like, you know what? Let's go with Camilla and Charles after I die. You're both going to be the king. Anyway, it's going to cost money for that. It's going to cost more money that we send over there for, shits and giggles, because you got a couple of extra people in there now. It's literally going to cost the people of England in the next 12 days, and I'll play a little thing from Business Insider, which kind of explains some stuff about what's going to happen, but it'll cost the people of England billions of dollars just to bury this woman. Billions. And we think of it in terms of, well, hang on, but we think of it in terms of like, this is unnecessary, it's ridiculous, it's useless, but this is literally the living embodiment of England's entire history. And this woman just died, and she's been around for like 70 years, and she's been a steady hand at the rudder, and she's like the identity of that country. It's almost like having your national animal pass away, and I say that with all due respect, or having the national animal go extinct. It's literally that important to the people of England. They don't look at her like she's a person. They look at her like she's part of the country that they're all very nationalistically proud about. So it's very different. And being from England, my family is very involved in taking pictures of the royal family, the Malindine, my mom's side of the family. My mom is probably quite upset today, but I can tell you my dad doesn't give two fucks. He's probably like, whatever. What time's our tea time? Doesn't matter to me.
And you know what? Somebody passed away, right? Yeah. Somebody lost a grandmother, and it's a sad day. So I told you, I said, I'm the wrong guy to have on the podcast today. Shouldn't have done this. I feel like a dick. I really do.
No, dude. She's not a normal person. There's two parts of her, right? There's the normal part, and then there's the craziness of the monarchy and what it means in 2020, which means absolutely nothing, and it's going to cost us a bunch of money. No, and it pisses you off, and these people are taxpayer paid, and that's a pain in the ass, and it's antiquated, and it's ridiculous. Kings and queens don't matter, especially when you wield no power, even though she probably still did wield a ton of power. Like, at any point in time, when I found this out today, at any point in time, she could have said, you know what? You, Prime Minister Boris Johnson, get out. I didn't know that she had that kind of power until I was watching something this morning. I'm like, holy fuck, she still wielded serious power. But she was that person that just let everything kind of go, because she said, I'm not here to fucking step on the will of the people. And she was really the first monarch to do that. So, and again, I mean, everything that comes with what the monarchy is. But
I think she saw a change in how the monarchy needed to play a role in politics. And that, you know what, again, that's worth saying out loud, because I think she was the first one that sort of established this soft role in politics as opposed to somebody that needed to inject themselves into the process. She was the first one. And I think part of the reason why that ended up happening is because of how it came about, right? Mm-hmm. Like, her uncle was supposed to be the king, and then it got thrown over to her dad, and then her dad passed away suddenly, and then all of a sudden she gets thrust into this they call her the accidental queen.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that probably played a role in it too. She was very young. She had time to adjust to the role, and she probably took a lot of counsel from people, and as she was getting older, and I think that probably benefited the whole situation, right? And she now, because there was a lot of real shitty royals in the past, right?
Yeah.
I mean, have you watched Game of Thrones?
Oh yeah. I haven't seen the last episode.
Some of those were awful.
Yeah.
Some of those people were awful. I'm trying to make a joke.
Game of Thrones wasn't real.
I get that. That was the
Queen
joke.
has a dragon. That's unbelievable. What are they going to do with the Queen's pet dragon? That's what I want to know.
Anyway,
this is my favorite picture of her.
This is awesome.
She's popping off an M16. She's like, fuck. She was badass. Look at her. She's fucking. And the guy looking at her is like, "You're doing it great, Mom. Doing a great job." And she's like, "Fuck, let me unload this machine gun right now."
The thing about her, the way she changed the monarchy and sort of redefined it. She's also established, I think, a template for her, for the monarchy and how it's involved in the world of politics as we move forward too, which I don't think is a bad thing, right?
Yeah. I mean, she's beloved. So,
did I redeem myself?
Yeah, totally. Well, you didn't get out of hand anyway. I mean, you spoke up and you're like, "Fuck, how much is it going to cost us now? Like, what are we on the clock for?" And I told you it was 60 million, and you got angry. Because I get it. I mean,
that's hold on, people. That still exists. There was some people in the comments saying we don't pay it. There was something that was abolished years ago that we don't pay anymore, but we still pay a fee to be a member of the monarchy in Canada. And it is it's like almost $60 million floats its way across the waters just to say that that's it. It is completely ceremonial. They have no real say in what we do. I mean, because there is a governor general, and that's supposed to be sort of the buck stops here kind of thing or whatever.
Yeah, but she's the governor general's the Queen's representative in Canada. That's what the governor general is. Yeah.
And I'd like to see what the governor general had for lunch today. I bet you it wasn't Ichiban noodles like I had with an egg in it.
Me too. I didn't have an egg in mine, though. I had the same thing. Yeah.
Cut up a little bit of onion, some chives, and throw it in there, too.
Oh, yeah, that's good, isn't it? Maybe a couple of peanuts and some sriracha sauce. It's like faux almost.
I forgot to put sriracha in my...
Yeah, you got to put sriracha in there. You can't fucking not do it. Anyway, as important as sriracha is to us, and I can tell you this, much like yourself, the Queen and the passing of the Queen is less important to me than what you had for dinner. However, there are a lot of people out there that are upset today. There are a lot of people up there who feel badly today, who really enjoyed everything royal. Like it's a business, it's a life. She's a product, but at the same time, she's like a tie-in. And I said that before. And here's the thing: is you want a hardo, like we talk about showing up. You know, when you're wasted. And you're like, fuck, I just got to go to work. I can't. You show up if you're a dude, right? Or if you're a chick. You know, when you have a bad day and you're like, fuck it, I'm going to go again tomorrow because I show up. It doesn't matter. That woman showed up for work for 70 straight years, every single day, and made sure that was more important to her than her family. That was more important to her. Because she felt, whether or not you believe this is to be true, she legitimately felt that because of how she became to be queen, that she had a duty that was above being a mother, being a grandmother, all those things, right? That's royal duty. And again, I had the benefit of watching The Crown, whether it was super real or not, but they really impress that upon you, right? Which is like, she would get a box every morning. She would be at the same place every morning. She would have to go to engagement after engagement, sometimes 6 to 10 a day. And she did this for 70 years. They're called royal duties. And it's not, you might think it's fun showing up in a limo and all this other stuff. But can you imagine going to 4 dog shows in less than 3 hours and then getting on a flight to go back and preside over a ribbon cutting of some fucking school like in the north of your country and to do that every day? and then to go to church. Like she's also the head of the church. She had to go to church every single Sunday. Royal duties were the Privy Council, they were the army, they were the fucking church, the bank of everything. Like that woman had her fingers in her on everything and showed up to work every day for 70 years, which is why when you watch Crown, you're like, why doesn't anybody want to be king or queen? It was like this fucking burden. Everybody looked at it like a burden. And she shouldered that burden and showed up for work every single day and was stoic doing it the entire time. So as an example, on top of being England's identity, she was an example to the British people, right? For a very, very long period of time of fucking, that keep calm and carry on. I mean, that's really all you have to do. And she embodied that. So they lost a lot in England today. And if you're a monarchist or you're not, who gives a shit? I'm not. I don't care. But it was pretty cool. Like she was a pretty hard fucking working individual, right? And yeah, is her son a total fucking pedophile and all her kids get divorced? And did she preside over some colonialism and was her husband a racist? Yeah, fuck for sure. But she was 96, right?
Yeah.
96, 70 years. A lot of shit goes on that you can't control, even though you're the queen. So you can tie whatever narrative to her. I don't really care either way. I think change is cool. It'll be kind of neat having a king and a queen. I'm not super happy about the fact that we got to change our dough and it's going to cost us a bunch of money. And I share no allegiance.
Prince Charles is like almost 80. Like he's going to last.
He's not going to be there for a while. No, dude. And he looks 70s. Unhealthy. Yeah, he looks like shit too.
He's a polo game away from a head injury, right? Like it's not gonna last.
He's a bad fall off a horse away from fucking not being the king for a long period of time.
Yeah, I don't know why they don't just make the one that's losing his hair. What's the kid's name?
William. Yeah, make him the guy.
Just make him, and at least it'll last longer.
Prince of Pegging, that kid. Remember that rumor that went around? That's a tough rumor to go around right before your grandma dies, eh? And she's like,
that was actually the funniest tweet that I saw was, all right, who gets to explain pegging to mom? Mumsie.
Mumsie, you may see something trending on Twitter this week. It's about William. Yes, Charles. Apparently he likes to have it fired up the backside.
What do you mean?
Lady.
Well,
it's called
the
pegging.
Woman puts the penis on. William, like a dog, gets on all fours.
Bends over to pick up a dime. And then it's on, Mum. It's on. What do you mean it's on, Charles? The pegging, Mum. Why do they call it pegging? Well, Mumsy, because a woman uses something that's peg-like to give it to William through the back passage.
Oh, my God.
Oh,
that's
my
funny.
God.
Why would William be into that?
I thought he'd be right into that. Interesting. Charles is going to, this is a fucking funny one. Someone sent us today. I've waited 5 years to drop this. Charles in Charge. Season 1. That's kind of cute, isn't it? It's fun. But what name did he pick? Great question. The king is officially going to be known as King Charles III. That is the name that he.
Yeah, they didn't take long to announce that. He's been waiting to float that one out there for a while, eh?
Yeah. And I went and looked at all the other Charleses. Not a good fucking name to pick, right? If he's going with
that
tradition.
Was why there was suggestion today that maybe he would pick another name.
Yes, because the first two Charleses were beheaded, actually.
And this is the conversation that I think we should be having today about the Queen, is that she could have been a lot worse, because in the past the royal family has not always been right. It has not been.
They've just been murderous assholes who just settled scores with other clans. And if you know anything about the history of England, and if you know anything about the uprising or the Magna Carta, King Charles II, the beheadings, how easy it was. Like King Charles, I think King Charles I, if I'm not mistaken, King Charles, King of Scots, was King of Scotland, King of Ireland, then became the King of England. And they're like, you're a fucking loser. And they just cut his head off. And he's like, what the fuck? Like, in the first Charles, same thing. He was executed for the same thing. It was like the 1625 was King Charles the first, and then like 1659 to 1661 or 1649 to 1651. It's King Charles II. I like history. Never mind. And both were like widely known as two of the worst kings in England's history. So there was a full expectation he was going to go with George VI, because that's in his name as well, George. It's like Prince Charles,
George is
Arthur,
a stronger name.
Winston, Ichabod, George, and then that's his big long name.
I just prefer
Regina.
George as a stronger name.
Yeah, I do too. I like George better than Charles.
Not enough Georges.
We need another
and
George.
Randys.
George.
There's just not enough Randys.
So what happens now? That's a great question. There's a great little 2-minute bit. I want to play it for you and for everybody that's watching. Business Insider put it out. They deserve the credit. I don't. I didn't put this together, but I found this fascinating because when someone dies, there's a whole operation. Like when a royal dies, there's like a fucking 15,000 things that have to happen, and it's all been passed down through hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. And there's like an actual operation name for it. And I found it actually pretty cool. So I'll play it for you. This is what's going to happen in the next like 10 to 12 days. And it's a pretty heavy penalty to pay when someone dies. Watch this.
Operation London Bridge. That's the code name given to the plan in place for the days and weeks after Queen Elizabeth II's passing. The Queen has been sitting on the royal throne since 1952. That's the longest reign of any monarch in British history. And during that time, she's seen over a dozen UK prime ministers, nearly 20 Summer Olympics, and over half a dozen popes. The Queen is the cornerstone to the Commonwealth, the patron to almost 600 organisations and charities, and plays a pivotal role in the UK's alliance with many countries. So her passing will bring about a lot of change. Not just for the United Kingdom, but potentially the world. Her private secretary, the Right Honourable Edward Young, will immediately pass a message on to the acting Prime Minister at the time. That message will likely read, "London Bridge is down." The Prime Minister will then set Operation London Bridge into action. Within minutes, the 15 governments outside of the UK where the Queen is head of state will be informed over a secure line. And that will be followed by the other 36 Commonwealth nations and leaders around the world. The gates of Buckingham Palace will then dawn a black-edged notice of the news. At the same time, a newsflash will alert media around the world. Every media outlet is prepared for the news. Every radio station has a network of lights that will flash to indicate a national catastrophe such as this. All BBC shows will stop and proceed to run a feed dedicated to the news. Newsreaders will change into the black suits and clothing that is on hand at all times in the news studio, and the traditional red BBC News branding will turn black. Newspapers, TV channels and radio stations have days of coverage ready to go. On the same day as her death, the Queen's eldest son, Charles, will immediately become king. And it's reported that the stock exchange, businesses and shops across the UK will likely close for the day out of respect. The day after the Queen's death, on a live stream, Charles will make his first official speech as king. And the government will swear its allegiance to the sound of a 41-gun salute in Hyde Park, London. After that, King Charles, if this is the name he so chooses, will set off on a UK tour, visiting the leaders of government in the capitals of each country, Edinburgh, Belfast and Cardiff, before returning to London. During this period, TV channels will play the many documentaries already made in the Queen's honour, and the BBC will refrain from playing comedy shows as a sign of respect until after the funeral. 4 days after her death, the Queen's coffin will be led on a military procession from Buckingham Palace to Westminster Hall. Here she will lie in state over the next 4 days, and after which King Charles, family and dignitaries will pay their respects. Then the doors will open to likely hundreds of thousands of people queued up outside. The funeral is estimated to take place 10 to 12 days after the Queen's passing. But one thing is certain, the day of the funeral will be an official bank holiday for the whole of the United Kingdom. The stock exchange will close for a second time in under 2 weeks, and many businesses will follow suit. At 11 AM sharp, the bells of Big Ben will chime, the country will fall silent, and the coffin will be brought inside Westminster Abbey, where 2,000 specially invited guests will bow their heads in prayer. After the service, the coffin will be taken to Windsor Castle, and then finally to St George's Chapel, where Queen Elizabeth II will likely be laid to rest next to her father, King George VI. Likely within a year after the funeral, an official coronation for King Charles will take place on yet another bank holiday. All in all, accounting for the multiple bank holidays, funeral expenses, and coronation celebrations, the Queen's passing is estimated to cost the UK economy billions of pounds. In addition, hundreds of changes will happen across the UK in the months to come. New British currency will be printed with the King's portrait, and the Queen's currency will slowly be removed from use. The same will happen for stamps, passports, and police and military uniforms, and the national anthem will be changed to God Save the King. Not to mention how the world and Commonwealth will react to the new king could alter the British royal family forever. For example, there is growing support in Australia for the country to become a republic, and the Queen's death could heighten that support. This could lead other countries to follow suit, which would almost certainly weaken the British monarchy. This scenario will one day be upon us. Operation London Bridge will be triggered, and arguably the biggest funeral of our lifetime will be witnessed around the world. This will be the end of an era.
There you go. That's courtesy of Business Insider. If you follow them on Twitter, you can get a bunch of their stuff. They'll probably be releasing it, but that is not ours, and I wanted to give them credit for it because we played it, and I don't know if we should have, so there you are.
I find it very interesting, the Australian thing.
Right? Yeah. Well, it's not just Australia. I mean, you got a ton of Commonwealth countries that are probably going to be like, now's probably a good time for us to just kind of make it a go on our own. Yeah. Cut ties. That wouldn't be bad. What could we do with that extra monarchy $60 million that we send to England every year? Probably quite a bit. Probably quite a bit in healthcare. Probably quite a bit of stuff. Anyway, it's just remarkable.
Hey, clean water.
Yeah.
For reserves.
Good idea.
Just throwing that out there. It's
Yeah.
2022.
Yeah. Trudeau chimed in. I don't know if you want to see.
You can't play that. I'll leave. Don't play
not even if he was like super performative. Like if he put on a big cry show, you don't want me to play that for you so that we can kind of make fun of him? No.
I've already
gotten sick once today.
I've already seen it, and I've already said numerous things that I regret on this podcast. We don't need to play that
at all. You sure you don't want to watch him just for like a couple minutes? It's like 1 minute 51 seconds.
Come on,
Canada's response. Well, dude, people want to see it. That's what I'm saying. I know you hate him. I don't like the guy either, and I think he's a huge virtue signaler. But for the people watching, which is why we do this show, they might want to hear what Justin Trudeau had to say moments after Mumsie passed. That's what I'm saying. I don't want to trigger you, though.
Well, play it.
Are you sure?
Play it, and then I want your opinion on it. Be honest. I'm not going to say anything. I think I don't need to say anything. I want your honest opinion of this, because if you play the English version, it's like, what is it? Minute 30?
51. Minute 51. Here's Justin. It's the drama teacher coming out. And keep in mind, I don't like the man. I think he's only been an acting prime minister, like one that I would go, oh, that looks like a prime minister, for like a year, because he let the ladies take over. Anyway, here's his response to the death of the Queen, who he's known since he was a child, right? Because his dad. So maybe he means this. I don't know.
It is with the deepest sorrow that we learn today of the passing of Her Majesty, Queen Elizabeth II. She was our Queen for almost half of Canada's existence, and she had an obvious, deep, and abiding love and affection for Canadians. She served us all with strength and wisdom for 70 years. As we grew into the diverse, optimistic, responsible, ambitious, and extraordinary country we are today. As her 12th Canadian Prime Minister, I'm having trouble believing that my last sit-down with her was my last. I will so miss those chats. She was thoughtful, wise, curious, helpful, funny, and so much more. In a complicated world, her steady grace and resolve brought comfort and strength to us all. Canada is in mourning. She was one of my favorite people in the world, and I will miss her so. C'est avec une grande...
All right, the French part, we don't need to watch that. My thoughts? I mean, it's a joke, right? Like, you know, it's got to be a joke. Like what he said on behalf of the state of a country that was founded by her country. I get that part. But when he was like, I'll miss her, I was like, what? What? How many times you get together with her? How many times you see her? Head of state, knew her when you were a kid, all that stuff. And I can't decide if those were tears, if those were made up tears. I can't decide because this guy's done this for so long. Every time there's like something where he can go, oh, this would be good. I can't take him seriously. I think
that's part of it.
Half of Canadians very seriously because absolutely, you know, this was a Canada was a British colony. Canada was founded by the British. Canada was founded by the British and French. I mean, you look at Quebec and look at the rest of Canada. I mean, it is, and when I say founded, I mean, you know, British people came here and legitimately stole this land from Indigenous people. So did the French. So, and it was largely based out of that area of the world. But you know, in that time, it was divide, conquer. This is fucking the way that nations were built for thousands of years, right? So, you know, we can look back on it now and go, oh, that's ridiculous. It's bullshit. We should have our own country. What they did to all of that stuff's true. All of it's true. But like for him to make that at the end about himself and to show that emotion was like, oh my God, you can't, seriously? You tell me that you were that close with the woman? Like, I don't know if anybody was that close with the woman other than her, you know, press secretary, maybe a couple other people, maybe your family.
A lot of people were very fond of her.
Sad enough to cry during that whole thing. But
yeah,
again, I mean, you know, this is the one argument that everybody has about him. I don't want to make the day the Queen died about him, but it's the one argument everybody has about him. It's that, you know, he puts it on. He turns it into something it doesn't need to be. That wasn't, you know, as a Canadian country, or as a country, you know, Canadians know that we live under the monarchy. At least they should. I mean, fuck. We got like a whole bunch of sovereign citizens out there that still wish this was the monarchy, right? They still pledge allegiance to the King of England and the monarchy. That's what the Christo-fascists do. But like for him to sit there and treat it like, you know, his dog of 16 years just passed and he can't believe it, and he was a companion of his for a long period of time, and deliver it with that, I don't know. Maybe I'm being an asshole. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm being a huge asshole. Maybe I'm being real picky. Maybe I'm being one of those cats. It's like, fuck, shut up, Dean. Let's just talk about the Queen today. But that response was like, oh, when I say it's embarrassing, to me, that's the kind of stuff towards the end. That was the kind of stuff that's embarrassing. I thought it was a joke, to be honest with you. I'm like, is he crying? Is this real? Like, is this? But maybe he takes it more seriously than me because he's known her since he was a kid because his dad was a prime minister. I don't know.
Yeah,
I just found it cheesy.
If you take what he said and you put it down on paper and you handed it to me, I would read that and I would go, yeah, that's
nice.
That makes sense. And knowing and having some context. And I think people do have an appreciation, whether you like Justin or not. People have an appreciation for the fact that he did know her and probably spent time with her as a child, minimal, but so he's had this relationship that none of us have had with the Queen who just passed away. Mm-hmm. So We can't, to be a judge of his grief is unfair. Although everyone will judge it, right? Which we're sort of wired to do. And again, like I said, on paper, yes, it's him.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I think a lot of people just assume that just because of the distaste I have for the man, that there's nothing he could do that would, because I hate him, right? But the thing is I do try to take a step back when I see him speak now, because he triggers me so badly, and I do try to take a step back and go, all right, Locke, is this just because you hate the guy, or there is an element of him not knowing who he is that comes through, this insecurity that he has, that comes through in almost everything he does. And I don't know why I pick up on that. And I have for years. And if you're familiar with my show in the mornings, because I've only been here for 2 years, if you're familiar, I have been saying this for a long, long time. He's not, I don't think that man is comfortable with who he is, and he's not portraying who he truly is to the public. And you can see it when he delivers a speech like that, because it's almost like you can see him in his head that he needs to deliver something a certain way. When you watch a bad actor on TV, you see this, right? That's why I think even if you don't act, you can have an appreciation for somebody who's really good at it. And maybe that's not the best comparison in the world, but it's also probably a good one, because I find it ironic that he's a drama teacher. He must have been a horrible drama teacher.
I don't know.
He's just not good at it. He's just not good at this stuff.
Yeah, it's you know what? It's funny because I'm watching the comments and we're putting them on screen and people are shitting on me for my take, which is fine. That's what this is all about. And I don't want to make this about him, and I don't want to make this about my bias towards people that act overly dramatic. I'm a very anti-dramatic person, right?
Yeah.
And so you might be right. It might be my bias that feeds into it. It's like the hair on the back of my neck stands up whenever someone gets all like this and like that. But I said this earlier, and maybe it is real. Maybe what he said was like really from the heart. Maybe he was very close to the family. I don't know. But you asked for my initial reaction. That was my initial reaction. Having said that,
mine too.
What he said on behalf of the country, absolutely. And as you pointed out, if there's no context, no tone, if you don't know the guy, if you don't have a bias, you kind of look at that and you're like, yeah, that's a great statement. You know, to be able to say that and to be able to talk about how incredible she was. And he brought up some really valid points. Like for half of Canada's history, she's been the queen of fucking this country. Yeah. Right? She's been on her money. She's been in her school. She's in every golf course. She's the reason golfers, no word of a lie, have to take off their hat when they walk in a golf course anywhere around Canada. Did you know that? Because there's a picture of the queen on the in every golf course. It's the national game, and you got to take it off when you walk into a golf course across Canada. So I mean, and listen, if you're pissed off that was my initial reaction, totally allowed to have it. But that was my initial reaction, and you asked me how I felt, and it might be my bias that reads into it, right? But it in the big scheme of things, like if you're looking for responses from world leaders, that was probably almost perfect. But we live here. It's like the same people that fucking can't stand Zelensky while he's fighting this war. They're like, go Zelensky. I fucking hate him as a politician, but go for it. You know what I mean? It's like sense of duty. I think what he did, on the world stage, if you take it completely out of context and go, what do you think of that? It was almost a perfect statement, right? It was a statement of like, yeah, dude, this is how important she's been. I've known her. You guys known her his whole life, apparently, right? So he's probably spent more time with her. And so I don't have the ability to judge whether or not he was being sincere. I take it as sincere. That was just my first reaction. That's all.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It totally does. Any other institutions you want to shit on today? Let's.
Yeah, I do actually. Oh,
monarchy, Canadian government.
It was not just a big day in England, but it's a big day in the United States too. Did you see Steve Bannon do the perp walk today? Did you see this? It happened like about an hour and a half ago, 2 hours ago, where he literally got arrested. Steve Bannon literally got arrested, put in handcuffs, and like taken into court, and he was fucking losing it. You know, when you see these guys doing the perp walk, this is the perp walk everybody was waiting for, right? Donald Trump's whole world's coming down. Steve Bannon's having a terrible day. The Queen's dead. Long live the king, all that stuff. But the truth is that I've never seen Steve Bannon this scared in my life, and it's fucking unbelievable to watch. And when you watch it, I want you to watch. It's the same courtroom that you remember Harvey Weinstein when he got taken in and out on that.
Oh, is it? Okay, I didn't make that connection.
Same fucking hallway. And what he got busted for this time was something he was originally pardoned for, but apparently it's so bad they fucked him again. It was stealing millions of dollars from a Build That Wall fund with a bunch of his friends. So he got dinged for that. He got put in cuffs, gave himself up, put in cuffs, and this is one of the great perp walks of all time.
This is tax evasion as well, which again, down in the States, if you're going to hang your hat on anything with some of these guys, like when you really get into trouble, it's when you start fucking around with the tax system down there.
Yeah,
like that's
when you start taking money from the government. Here in Canada, they're like, oh, whatever, you can take money from us. We don't care. In the States, they're like, by the way, you're going to jail for 50 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even if it's you steal like $20. But watch this. Tax evasion, stealing from a fund, all that stuff. Here's Steve Bannon. Listen to him carefully.
For every conservative American, this is what happens in the last days of a dying regime. They will never shut me up. They'll have to kill me first. I have not yet begun to fight.
You shut it off just before they said, oh, hold on, let's catch it.
What's that?
Can you run it a little bit longer?
Yeah.
Run.
Well, no, this is the shortest. This is the longest clip.
Okay. Because right at the end, he goes, I hope they have pudding in jail.
For every conservative American,
he didn't say that.
This is what happens in the last days of a dying regime. They will never shut me up. They'll have to kill me first. I have not yet begun to fight.
Oh, Stevie's going to jail. Steve Bannon, perp walk day, balance out the death of the longest serving monarch in the history of civilization. The biggest fucking alcoholic, greaseball, liver spotted fuck just got arrested in the United States. And he is going to big boy jail, and he's going to wear one of those orange suits.
Are you sure?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
everything
I read says he's in fucking deep. Like, you can't get this is something that a lot of people think he's been pardoned for, and he kind of has. Like, Trump gave him one of those blanket pardons when he split, right? But they're like, fuck the blanket pardon. This guy's going to jail because he did other shit that we've uncovered, and he's going to big boy jail. So let's arrest him and make an example of him. They just arrested him and cuffed him and made him do a perp walk in front of the whole country. Awesome.
What I find interesting about this whole just disintegration of the mega, like the hierarchy, right? Like these guys they're dropping like flies around Trump. And he's probably got another rally tonight, which is just unbelievable to me. It's just amazing. The thing that I find the most interesting about it is these guys, and maybe he's playing a role that he thinks he needs to play, but he legitimately, the guy's a crook. He's a criminal. There's so many of these guys that were attached to this Trump thing down there that are all they were was just a racket.
Yeah.
These guys were just really good, and they knew that in order to continue to get away with the shit they were getting away with, they just sort of eked their way and oozed their way into the political system. That's all this is. Mm-hmm. And they thought that they could make changes and influence things from that perspective to continue to be criminals, and it's falling apart for them.
Yeah, which everybody said it would, right?
Everyone said it would, but no one really. I don't think everyone's still doesn't quite believe it. I mean, I'm not going to believe any of this until they'll drag him through here. That does the perp walk, and then
They will never shut me up. They'll have to kill me first. I have not yet begun to fight.
picks him up in an hour and a half from now and takes him out to his yacht. right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I have a lot of faith.
No, I don't know if I do either, but this is just fucking food for my soul, right? Like I was watching him do the walk this morning and I'm like, oh, that makes me feel good. That's one of those things that you're like, oh, all is right with the world, where that criminal, because he's a fucking criminal. They're all criminals, as you pointed out. And that was a great fucking point you made. Like, brilliant point you made, is that all of Trump's buddies who've always been con men and criminals somehow fucking weaseled their way into political culture, found the right people, found the right circumstances, found the right analytics guys, found the right, help with foreign governments, and fucking like perfect storm. It all happened. And everybody was standing there at the end of his tenure going, what the fuck did we just go through for the last 4 years, right? Mm-hmm. And it bled up here. It still is a problem up here. But watching the defenestration of Trump, guys like him, is going to scare the shit out of people up here that employ the same kind of politics. I'm convinced of it. Like I'm absolutely convinced of it. Yeah, I do.
Well, because I think that not only have they been sitting there, behind the scenes with paper and pen, watching this thing play out and jotting down notes about, okay, well, that worked. We did that. And then, okay. I also think, Dean, that they are quite good at writing down the mistakes they made and going, okay, so they did that, and that kind of got them in trouble. So I have a feeling that might be a little bit more difficult to determine as these guys continue to grow, if they do, with this sort of plan, this playbook, the Trump playbook, the conservative playbook. They're making
fascism?
Less mistakes.
You're referring to fascism? Yes.
It does have a bit of a fascism taste to it. Yes, it does. If you're putting it on a salad. But I'm saying that they're making less mistakes now. And that's why I think you guys all need to settle in for PP being the next prime minister of Canada, because he is making less mistakes, but he has similar tactics. And I think he's a little less overt of a criminal than, say, that group is.
Mm-hmm.
But it's part of what we live. It's part of the world that we live in right now. Politics now is all about not just trying to change things so that you can get away with more criminal activity, but also making sure that you control the narrative on social media, right? That's one thing. And again, we all want to sort of put this orange buffoon hat on Trump and label him this complete moron. And I'm comfortable with that too. And I want that to be the case. But when you really, really dig into it and look at what he did and how he went about what he did, it's kind of fucking brilliant. And for the next 100, 200, possibly 300 years, people are going to be looking back at what we went through. I'm saying us, because we went through it with the Americans 4 years ago, what they went through and what he did to get where he got to. It's just fascinating. And we're still seeing the ramifications of it. Huge. I mean, just the other day, just yesterday, Obama, Barack, and Michelle went to the White House and unveiled the portraits. From the beginning of time, since they've been doing that, I think Kennedy might have been I think it's been longer. It doesn't matter. I don't know American history as well as maybe I should. But for as long as they've been putting portraits up in the White House of past presidents, they've done it not long after the one that won got in. Mm-hmm. So this was something Trump should have done in his 4-year term.
Never did it.
He didn't. And I can imagine the conversation that they had. Oh, we got to bring Obama, Barack, and Michelle back and put a picture. Fuck that. He is such a raging cock that they had to wait till they got him out of the White House
to do
put
something
pictures.
National tradition to put a picture up.
It's just amazing
how petty he is,
isn't it?
Yeah. Well,
Like,
and
it's
I'd heard
unbelievable.
I'd heard the same thing. I'd heard that he's like, fuck, I'm not standing there with Obama with his stupid fucking portrait. And then I had heard that the State Department reached out to Obama. It's like, hey, we'll do it without Trump. And he's like, not a chance, dude. There's no way I want bad mojo attached. He goes, I'll wait for the next guy. So that's why they did it. But it originally, you're right, started with Trump, where they're like, hey, the portrait is this year. It was in his first year. He's like, no, it isn't. I'm like, oh my God, you are one angry fucking old dude. Like, that is fucking petty. But it's a great point that you bring up. Again, you're 2 for 2 today, by the way, with points. You're fucking killing it. About how fucking ridiculous the whole thing was, right? Like how ridiculous the presidency was, and just how fucking petty, and that these guys were just con men, angry con men. And watching him do that perp walk was incredible. Speaking of con men, I don't know if yesterday you watched, and I'm not saying this man is a con man at all, but we had the organizer of the convoy on, one of the organizers of the convoy on.
Yeah, I want your take on this.
Tom Marazzo is his name, Tom Marazzo. Well, I'll play a clip. You can just you can get a little clip from it. This is from the show promo. You can follow us at It's Dean Blundell, and you can go to YouTube, and you can actually download the whole thing. If you go to Dean Blundell Show on YouTube, but this is just a quick taste. It's a teaser. We call these teasers in the radio industry, Locke.
Micro content
In digital.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're pulling out of this fucking podcast today. Me shitting all over the monarchy.
Let's do because we haven't answered that question. What do you say to people who are in counseling today because they have PTSD from air horns going for 3 weeks, and they think that they're, all the shit that happened because that was an occupation, wasn't a protest. You were, and I think people want to hear that part. Like, what is it that you would say to these people who are really suffering to this day because of what it is that you guys decided to do? And then the last part of that question, what would you say to them? And whose idea was it to blare the horns? Not a bad tease, eh? That's a real teaser, by the way.
That's a good teaser, yeah.
That's a good tease because he hasn't answered the question.
You could feel the tension. You can feel that tension in that 35-second clip.
Yeah,
so that's
should have felt it for 4 hours.
I was just gonna say it's a long time to be sitting there. There was good for you. You know what? And I don't care what anybody says. If you have a negative opinion about Dean giving Tom a platform, that's on you. Go rethink that, because I think what you did yesterday was that it's probably not a bad idea that I wasn't on there yesterday, because I probably would have just muddled the waters there on that one. That probably needed just a you and him kind of approach to it. And I don't need that stress in my life right now, because I can just feel my anxiety when I'm just watching that 30-second clip. So it's going to take me some time to watch it, but I'll go back. But what were your thoughts?
Overall,
he's a smart guy, right? You said that. You said that to me.
I don't think I'd be able to tell you whether or not he's smart. Like, I don't have the metrics to say, oh, that was a smart guy. I can tell you by my conversation, what I got out of him was that it was everybody else's fault. They were forced to do that because nobody stood up for them. That's what I got out of him. I also got out of it that Tom,
victim class,
very much, there was a very and listen, I'll say this to Tom, and I actually said this to him yesterday. What responsibility do you hold here? And he's like, nothing. We didn't do anything wrong. Right. And I'm like, well, and the answer to the question, which you can go and listen to in our YouTube show with Tom on it, the answer to that question that I asked him, like, what do you say to these people? He's like, you know what his actual answer was? And I'm not kidding you when I say this. He's like, I'd say, I don't believe you. I don't believe that you are hurt from that. He also said that he doesn't believe COVID is a pandemic to the extent that we've been vaccinating people and carrying on. He also said that he would never get vaccinated. He also said that you and I, people that did get vaccinated, people that, try to figure it out as we went, that people that you and I are going to die in the next 5 years because of the vaccine, of indiscriminate kinds of cancers, and that we've been lied to, and we're crazy. He doesn't think 6 million Canadians or the 8,000 that showed up to hold what I said to him, an entire city hostage. And I'm not telling these stories I'm not sewering the guy behind his back.
No,
I'm just repeating what I said.
Yeah.
He doesn't believe people died, 44,370 last count. I think that number's closer to 44,500 as of today, if I'm not mistaken. Doesn't believe that.
Yeah, because people are still passing away from COVID.
Oh, yeah. Doesn't believe. I played him a video of Brent. Who saw, Brent, long COVID. We work with him. He played him that clip of him talking about long COVID, which Brent didn't. He just recorded it a few days ago, and I'm like, hey, this is a really great clip, and I wanted him to see it and answer what he thought. And he doesn't think that's real. He thinks he has other issues, and he thinks he got bad advice, I believe, from doctors. And what really stood out to me is something that you mentioned, 3 for 3. What stood out to me was the fact that he bore no responsibility for anything.
Yeah.
That nobody there should bear responsibility for it. That he didn't believe that the damage that was caused is the damage that people say it is. And so to me, that's like you and I are very, very much the same in that capacity, where being good to people around us sets the tone for the environment around us, right? Being nice to people, helping other people. You do a great job of it.
I fail all the time, though. I'm still working on that. But yeah.
No. But you're self-aware. Right. And that was my point. I didn't get any community self-awareness from him. I didn't get any accountability from him. I didn't feel or think that when we were listening to it and I was talking to the guy. I got the feeling that he wants this to be over so desperately, but he is literally stuck going 80 and he can't get off this train. I got the feeling from him that he would like everything to go back to normal. I got the feeling from him that his entire career with the with the military, which he's 25 years, that he got fucked over by the military all the time. That was kind of what he had alluded to. He got fucked over at his last job. He got fucked over when he tried to give out resumes. He got fucked over. Like he's got this real feeling that he got fucked over. And the way that I organize that in my head when I think about him as a microcosm of the group is that's a real shared sentiment by a lot of those people, right? Because I was really trying to figure it out.
It's very common. It's a very common thing when you and Karima's even pointed that out, who has been documenting this thing for the last couple of years on this podcast network. If you followed her work, that has been an underlying theme, is that these people have had things happen to them, whether or not they how much of a role they played in it has led them to this very strong belief structure to not trust anybody or anything. And again, I said this before the pandemic. The people in my life that were like that had a very strong distaste for authority figures, a very strong suspicion of things, were quick to jump on conspiracy theories. COVID was just another branch of it. And it was that type of personality. And unfortunately, I think in the world that we're living in right now, it's a growing problem. The narcissistic, the victimhood thing, it's fueled by social media. They find support immediately. They don't even need to leave their homes anymore. They feel part of something, and it just continues to seep into the sort of overall psyche of society. And Tom sounds like a byproduct of that. And I don't know how to fix that. Like, I think we got to get to a point where, and this is what I've been trying to do. When something, I was doing it today because I'm not even going to get into it, but I was having a very strong, like, self-talk moment today. What's my role in this? Why does this continue to happen to me? And is there something I can do to change this? Right? Because you're not going to change Tom, Dean, by sitting down and having a conversation with him and telling him what you feel.
Nope.
He's not going to wake up tomorrow and go, you know what? Dean was right. I'm going to go get vaccinated. Right? But what I think we need to do individually is we need to, when we get involved in situations, when something doesn't go right or go planned a certain way, We have to. And I don't know, again, I don't know how to make this happen on sort of a macro level, and maybe somebody will come up with it. But people individually have to sit back and they have to go, okay, I'm doing something to bring this on. If there is a continued trend of shitty things happening to me, and it's continuous, there's a good chance that maybe you played a part in it. And we're not doing that as a society.
You're crazy. You're talking about accountability and self-awareness, dude. That's crazy in 2022. You can't do that. You can't talk about self-awareness like that. You can't talk about, oh, geez, maybe I'm involved in my life. Maybe I'm involved in the things that keep happening around me. Maybe I'm contributing to it. That is all we do, dude. That is all we have. All we have are the way that we act, the things that we say, what we do. And I tried to say this to Tom yesterday, and I tweeted about this the other day too. Only you are responsible for your circumstances. There's going to be times in your life when you're not, right? When things happen to you that are totally unfair, that are awful, that are like, I can't believe that happened. Maybe it's a death in the family. Maybe it's you lose your wallet, or something stolen from you. Maybe your house catches on fire because the neighbor's house caught on fire and your house catches on fire. That's categorically unfair. Just an awful thing to happen. Your loved one gets COVID and they die. That's categorically unfair. It's very, very unfair. What happened to the people, and this is what I left that interview with Tom thinking to myself, what happened there, they showed up for, right? They advertised it. They talked about it. They put it on social media. This is what we're going to do. We're going to create encampments. We're going to hustle in propane. We're going to take gas. We're going to fucking blare our homes for weeks on end. We're going to lock down the whole city, and we're going to fucking piss off a whole bunch of different people until we get the respect that we deserve. And that kept coming up time after time after time with Tom in this interview, right? And there are people out there that have always been perpetual victims, people that have no idea how to operate outside victimhood, that's worked for them. And when it stops working for them, what do? They call other people and say, we're all victims. And they say, let's go act like assholes together until people recognize what kind of victim we are. And that is what I got out of that yesterday. Yeah. I also got out of that whole thing yesterday that he doesn't believe in science, and he literally lives in a completely separate reality than about 85 to 90% of Canadians, and still thinks he's right.
I don't know.
It's 85.
I think there's a lot more people out there.
6 million people, 6 to 7 million people are not fully vaccinated in this country. 6 to 7 million people don't believe in vaccines in this country, according to most polls. So it's in or around that number. And I don't think everybody shares his perspective, but what he is saying is that none of us, when they were mandated, and this is his beef with everybody else, none of us, when vaccines were mandated, none of us stood up for them and tried to create a space for them to tell us their science. And we went through that. And I said, is there an opportunity here to point out that the reason why no one would talk to you about your science is because you don't believe in science? And he's like, no, I talked to doctors. And I'm like, do you want to tell me which ones they were? He's like, I can't give out those names. And I'm like, and it's the same MO. It fit every different part of that person who's confused and frustrated and pissed off and part of the convoy and loves PP and hates Trudeau. It fit every MO, the self-research, what he believes. And listen, that's his reality. I don't share it. I don't agree with it. I think a lot of what he said yesterday was based in victimhood, past trauma, and paranoia. That's what I think. Yeah. But he thinks that I'm crazy and I'm going to die in 5 years of cancer. That's what he thinks. So that's what I wanted to get to the bottom of, is like, fuck, dude, we sit here and we lob balls and we call people assholes and meat and loser and fucking cognitively delayed and dirties. I called them dirties for a while. And I realized we just can't keep doing that. Right. And so I had to actually physically go and sit and talk to somebody about it.
This is a good thing. And I think that might have been a good stepping stone with the Tom interview. Here's where I will say where I think your numbers are a little off is I think there are numerous people, and I'll even include myself in this, that took a look at this whole pandemic, and I was trying to figure this out like everybody, and I was trying to make the right decisions for the whole.
Mhm.
Right? I didn't want to be the guy that stepped out in front and said, all right, I'm not getting a vaccine because da 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 da, right? But I got to tell you, there were numerous times during the lockdown where I was legitimately angry about the decisions they were making and how they were going about doing it, right? That's why I'm saying, like, you got an extreme case like Tom, and you got 8,000 people that hopped in their trucks and went to Ottawa to protest the lockdowns and the mandates. But I think there's a lot more people in this country that have a distrust of the systems and in place to protect us.
Totally.
And they're very much they don't necessarily always trust the doctor 100%. They don't always trust the politicians. I think we were in a situation politically with the pandemic where they took the extreme because they knew it was the only way to effectively slow this thing at the pace they did. Right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's the way at the end of it, I was like, okay, listen, did they make some mistakes? Yes, they did. Should they have done what they did? No, but they had to do what they had to do. I was able to come to this determination because I was thinking about it a lot. They had to, and they had to be extreme about it, because if they didn't, they would not have gotten near the compliance that they did. And they took the risk of just pissing off that 8,000 or more, a certain percentage, and they just said, all right, we'll just deal with that down the road. But I think they made a lot of mistakes in timing and how they delivered the message.
Yeah.
They made massive mistakes. And unfortunately, we always say this whenever that we come out of anything like this. Well, here's hoping they sure learn their lesson the next time. They won't. I would like to live in a world, and I've said this out loud on this podcast before. I would like to live in a world where a politician steps up to a stump and goes, you know what? I'm talking to the 75% of the people that know that they got to help to make a difference. 25% of you, turn the TV off now, because it doesn't fucking matter what I say. You're going to need to get vaccinated. You're going to need to do this, and everybody else, go fuck yourselves. I would like to live in that world. We don't, though. And I think there would be less fallout if they just said, all right, here's what you need to do in order to control COVID.
Mm-hmm.
If you somehow think that God's going to protect you, or that this is some kind of a poison or something like that, that's on you. Go live your life. Everybody else, the reasonable people, this is what I need you to do. And this is what I'm hoping everybody does. We will never get to that point. They have to step up to the stump and go, everybody has to wash your hands. Everybody has to stand 6 feet away from you. We're shutting all this business down, and everybody has to get fucking vaccinated. And then what happens? I think you create more problems like this. Right? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, you create radicalization, right?
And that's what happened.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of people don't have that ability to be able to think past the problem, and I think that I got that out of Tom too. Like, that was one of the fascinating things about my conversation with him. It was one of those eye-opening. Oh, I get it, and none of this matters. Like, it wouldn't matter what I had said, which is why I had accepted the fact that I wasn't talking to somebody that I was trying to coerce, or I was trying to get him to understand my objective reality, right? I wasn't trying to get him on side. I wasn't trying to get him vaccinated. I didn't try to explain to him vaccine efficacy. In fact, several times I'm like, no, we're not talking about vaccines, because I don't have a fucking medical degree on the wall, and neither do you. Right? So let's just keep it to how you got here. And how he got there were a number of different things. And one of them was a bunch of different governments are saying a bunch of different things. Provincial government saying one thing.
And he's not wrong.
In this province.
He's not wrong.
Totally. And so
they boot fucked the message.
But that's when a light went on for me, and I'm like, oh, this was a colonial group effort. This was like, the federal government ham and egging it, trying to go, fuck, we think this is it. It's going to piss you off, but you got to stay in your house for a couple months. The federal government telling people what to do, getting vaccinated, getting a mask on, mask restrictions, mandates. And there's that segment of society that's like, we don't want to have to do that. All of a sudden, out of Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Nova Scotia, you're hearing different stories about how they're dealing with it, and it's not the same as we've been told by the federal government. So they're like, fuck, I'm going to port that whole thing over to me, and that's what I'm going to adopt as my strategy, because they're telling me that government's lying to me, that guy's not trustworthy. And so it created this radicalization effect of all these different people where they could take a la carte what they were going to be able to do with their vaccines and mitigating damage and not being around people and all that other shit. And I feel sorry for them. Like, I legitimately, yesterday at the end of that interview, I'm like, as angry as I've been with all of them, I understand them so much more.
Just from one conversation.
Exactly.
That was for you.
Yeah.
Dean, that was for you. It wasn't for Tom. And I'm glad you went into it with that in mind. The thing is, too, the thing that I find absolutely fascinating about that group, and again, I've known a lot of people like this over the years, is, and I think the difference between, and I think the reason why I haven't squirreled that way, and I wasn't in Ottawa, and my Subaru isn't all deckled up with anti-government slogans
anymore,
is because I put the F Trudeau sticker on the Subaru because I thought it was funny. I thought it would be funny to see it on a Subaru Forester. No one got the humor. I also put truck nuts on my Subaru one time, and I thought people would find the humor in that.
You also have a door knocker of a guy where you pull the balls of the door knocker,
huge
and
balls.
You slam them into the door. It's all balls. Yeah, so I get it. You're a prankster. I get it.
Sometimes I just do things for the sake of being funny. But when I look at a situation like when the government makes a mistake, I look at it from the perspective of, well, they're idiots. They can't do their job. Look who's left running politics. Whereas somebody like Tom goes, it's deliberate. They're trying to fuck you. They're trying to fuck you. They're going to fuck us all. And that's, I think, the difference in the mentality. And that's where I've been able to separate myself from that group, where I go, they're just incompetent. They don't know what they're doing. They never learn from their mistakes. But this group thinks that there's some strings being pulled behind and that they're all out to screw you, and they're going to give you cancer, or they've got a chip in you, or like, it's endless. These people they screw up every day. They're just humans. But somehow this group has them completely organized behind the scenes, and they're controlling the path of the entire planet. And we're all pawns in it. I can't get there. I can't get there with you, Tom.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and to be fair, neither can Tom. Like, I asked him that lock. I said, dude, what do you think? Like, who's pulling the strings then? Because I asked him, and if you go watch the interview again, it's 3 hours, YouTube, Dean Blundell Show. It's fascinating. It's a look inside what other people believe that I thought was not believable, right? I just like, fuck, this is real. Like, you hear stories about people that are like, that you're going to die in 5 years from cancer if you got the shot. We're going to be the only people left. We tried to warn you, that kind of stuff. And I'm like, oh, fuck, this is real. And so when he finally said the quiet part out loud, which was that he thought I was crazy, and he went through the litany of issues that he had during his time in government, because he was a government employee for like 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
It all came from, and it's where we started, about his service. He had he wanted to be a fighter pilot so bad, enlisted at 16, 17, goes and takes the eye test. They go, sorry, your eyes aren't good enough, can't be a fighter pilot. So he re-enlists in a different version of the Army, an infantry or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was, but served this country for 11 years. Never got a deployment. Later went and never once was deployed. So he was like an Army guy that just kind of kept around in the Army doing a bunch of different stuff. Hurt himself jumping out of an airplane at some point, had to take medical leave. But there was the eye exam thing really stuck out to me, because what happened was later on in his military career, he went for just a regular eye checkup. He was 20/20. So the eye exam he had 15 years previous or 10 years previous was a bunk eye exam. and they either lied to him or they screwed him over and killed his dream. And the resentment that came out of that every year after he got passed over and all the things that kept coming, they were just this incredible like window into what drives certain people. Yeah. And in his case, what drives him. And it made sense to me in that moment. Completely disagree with it. I don't think it's self-aware. I think in general, people just make the best and respond the best they can to things that happen to them. But this crowd, I think, is typified by that example that I got. And the example that I got was, I got fucked over, so fuck them, right? And that's kind of the thing. It's kind of the MO. It's kind of the narrative. I got fucked over, so fuck them. I'm going to fight them with everything I got.
Yeah. It's interesting. I'll tell a quick story. Which won't be a quick story.
Yeah.
We had a conversation on the locker room one time about what drives you, like what makes you mad to the point where you lose your mind. Like you have an unreasonable anger for something. And mine was, I get so mad at passive aggressive shit. You're like, I can't even tell you. It just like, I see absolutely red. Mm-hmm. And it's a growing, I've never understood it, but it's something that's happening more and more now. And again, I don't want to shit on millennials, but millennials use this all the time. Passive aggressive behavior is something that I didn't know I hated until I figured out what it was. And it was years ago. And now maybe because I'm now aware of it, I see it more often. But it just makes me so angry. I can't even see straight. Mm-hmm. So we're talking about this on the air, and it ended up being a bit that we cut out and we play in shows like our best of shows, right? Mm-hmm. So it reran on a weekend, like on our weekends. And some guy phoned me when he heard a replay of this not long ago. This was like literally last couple of months. And him and his daughter were driving in the truck. And this is a guy, he's probably 40. He's got like a 10-year-old, couple of kids. And his daughter said to him, she goes, what's he talking about? What's passive aggressive behavior? And he goes, I don't even know, to be honest with you, honey. Why don't we Google it? So he called me and told me the story. So they get the phone out and his daughter reads him the explanation of it, and a light bulb goes off in his head. And he said, oh my God, I'm doing this. I'm doing this to my wife, and I'm destroying my marriage. And literally went home and spent all night researching passive aggressive behavior and how to get it out of your life. And he said, I changed how I was talking to my wife, and I immediately saw a difference in how she started responding to me. No concept of this behavior, no understanding of it all, no self-awareness of what he was doing. Phoned me a week later and goes, I think you saved my marriage. And of course, Grant and Jimmy are laughing their asses off because it's me.
Yeah. Yeah. But a marriage saver isn't something I'd attach to Lachlan's bio. No.
But here's a 40-year-old man who is in the middle of it, in the thick of it, with a couple of kids. He's doing something that is completely destroying his marriage, learns about it, changes it, and he goes, I think I'm going to be okay. I think we're going to be okay. And it stuck out at me, not because I saved this guy's marriage, but because a 40-year-old was doing something that he had no idea was impacting the most important relationship in his life outside of his kids.
Yeah. You know, Locke, that's such a fucking great story. And it's a great way to kind of start to wrap it up today, is that self-awareness is one thing. Being able to take action on it and not having the ego to be able to say, yeah, I got to change some stuff, right? I got to figure this out because I'm unhappy. Things are not working for me. And I asked Tom that, like, it's negatively impacted your life. He's lost everything, right? Lost bank account, lost everything. And he's like, no, I don't mind. I like it. And I'm like, I don't think you can. I don't think you, and so that's when I was, and again, it was just another, check mark for me of like, there isn't a desire to get through this. There's a desire to, continue to fight something that he's lost every time he's tried to fight it. So like, in your friend's case, he's like, oh my God, this light goes off. I do this thing. I'm this asshole. Passive aggressiveness is the worst manipulation you could do to somebody.
So toxic.
It's fucking so terrible because no one knows where they stand. They're like, he didn't yell at me, she didn't yell at me, but fuck, why do I feel
keep
like
getting
shit?
it in work emails?
Yeah, like, because you work with the right people. That's why. Like you get it in work emails. Because you're you. That's why.
Why does it happen to me? What's my role in this team?
Well,
I know you want to answer. I need another hour. I'm kidding.
I did 4 yesterday. I could do another hour today. But the truth is that that's the plague that we've got. You know, there's a pandemic that brought us another pandemic, right? We've had the pandemic, which has made us all sick. But the pandemic of hardening victims that don't want to get any better at life. You know, they really don't.
Well,
and to that point, you know, if you were up against something, you've got negative experiences in your life, you feel like it follows you all over the place. You feel like you can never get away from like other people having an issue with you. I bet you're part of the issue. And so when you can literally go, you know what is my role? I had a conversation with my son this week. Doesn't matter. He had an issue with somebody that he's close with. He came back and he told me all about these things this terrible person did. All of them. And not once did I hear anything in there about himself. And I sat and I listened. And keep in mind, we're all trainees in life. We're supposed to be trying to get better at life every single day. And so I said, well, listen, I didn't hear you say anything about yourself or your role in this. So can you fill me in on that? And he stopped for a second and he's like, yeah, I need to go get a coffee first. So he goes and gets a coffee. I said, I want you to while you're making coffee, I'm going to take a piss. I want you to hyper focus on what your role in your life is, like what's your role in this thing that you're explaining.
In this relationship that's disintegrating in front of you. Yeah.
Well, not even disintegrating, just something you can't get through. And so mad at this person and they don't do what I want. If this person just did this, if this person just did that. And whenever I hear those things, it's like it's like a fucking alarm goes off. And the alarm to me is, whoa. You're involved in this. Get ruthless with yourself first. First thing you do, right? Yeah. That's why I handled the pandemic the way I did. I was ruthless with myself first, flexible with everybody else second, right? I knew that the way I behaved made me accountable to my environment. Anything I did would be in and around my aura. It would be in my day. And so I had to be ruthless. And it's this process. It's this thing when you're in it and you're fighting and you're with other people and things aren't going your way. If you can tune everybody else out, everybody, doesn't matter what you think people did to you. And I'm talking to everybody out there that's not vaccinated, everybody out there that's mad, everybody out there that boss got fired, the convoy didn't go your way, you all these things. What is your role in it? What did you do? What did you do? What did you say? What didn't you show up for? What did you say that you shouldn't have said? What was your action? What was your tone? All those things, like really moral inventory shit where you're searching and you're going through it. And what you're describing is a guy having a moment, and it's what everybody else should have. A series of those moments where you're like, this didn't go my way today. I had a negative experience. What is my role in my negative experience? And when you can literally focus on just that, it's almost like nothing else matters, right? So when I talk to a guy like Tom, and I'm ruthless about this with myself, ruthless. If I make a mistake, I want to know what I did so I can be right, so that the environment around me can be good, so I can have a nice experience on this planet for the 30, 40 years I got left, if I'm fucking lucky. That's how we respond to life. And when we respond to life well, like your friend did, like you try to do, like I try to do, like these people who, or Tom, I want him to respond to life well. That is the difference maker in everybody's life, whether you're miserable or happy. That is it. That's the only thing. And you can't respond well if you're not healthy or if you're not smart enough to do it. Right. And I'm not saying Tom isn't smart enough to do it. I didn't get a huge, academic vibe from him. I know he's got a degree. I know he's probably got his master's. I think he mentioned that he's got his master's. It's great. A lot of people have master's degrees. Awesome. Good for you. Academically, you've got some degrees. But like, fuck, the intellect of what you learn in books has nothing to do with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's just information you retain. Right? What is your life philosophy? What are you doing with your day? What are you doing? How are you accountable to yourself ruthlessly? Because the things other people do, you can't control. You never will.
Yeah.
You never will. You're never going to control your spouse. You're never going to control your boss. Never going to control the government. Yeah.
It's maddening. It is, because as much as you can put the pressure on yourself, and that's where I kind of feel for these people. You're not going to have an impact on the world that you live in. Tom and that group went to Ottawa thinking that they were actually going to change how everybody else viewed them, and they fucking made it worse.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're spiraling out of control. A lot of them. Right, because of their involvement, and I do this to myself. I do this to myself all the time, where I instead of not injecting my asshole behavior into a situation, I do, and all I'm doing is making their behavior towards me worse. I'm doing nothing to actually fix the problem. Mm-hmm. And that's really hard for a guy that thought he was put on the planet to tell everybody the truth and that I was going to fix all the fucking world's problems because I have an ego, right? It's very difficult for me to live my life knowing that I have no impact on these people. I'm not changing. I'm just not changing. I'm going to get an email.
That was a mistake that I made during the pandemic. Is I thought, I could troll these people into getting vaccinated. I could shame them into it. And you know what it did? Didn't make things worse. It made me way worse. Like fucking way worse. There were days, seriously, during the pandemic where I was getting emails from people. I was getting texts from people. People were bombing me like, you pussy, I can't believe you got vaccinated. Where I literally would look at Johnny2699 on Twitter and go, if I find you, I'm going to murder you. If I find that guy, I'm going to get him. I'm going to kill him. In my mind, it's just this craziness in your mind. You're like, what is wrong with you? What happened to you? And every time I called someone meat, which was a few times, every time I called someone a freeloading asshole, every time I called someone cognitively delayed, mentally or emotionally detached, every time I called someone anything, it was like, oh yeah, you're just getting worse at life. Way to go, dude. Way to go. And did I make fun of Andrew Lawton and give it to some people that made fun of a lady doctor the other day for wearing a mask? Yeah. Did I say some awful names? Yeah. I will choose violence sometimes. But as a rule, I knew that was making me angry. That was making me worse. That wasn't making me a better person. I wasn't learning anything. I was just representing fucking anger for people who are also angry at the same thing. And it's a great click thing. It really is. But I can tell you, it's an amazing click thing. But it doesn't help. It didn't help me. Didn't help you. Made things uncomfortable. Makes you a worse person. And I go back to the old fucking saying, what's bad for the hive is bad for the bee. And I spent a lot of time kicking that hive. So when I got a chance to talk to someone about what they really believe, I took it very seriously. Laughed a lot, joked around a lot, made sure he knew that I didn't agree with anything he said. But it did so much for me in terms of explaining what that is. And it made me literally, I got off the phone yesterday. We hung up, finished the actual podcast. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so glad I believe what I believe. It is so much easier. So much easier just being accountable, saying sorry if I did something wrong, abiding by the rules that I know are laid out for me in this beautiful country that I live in, taking care of the things that I need to take care of, being good to those around me, all those things, just not fighting things I won't change, right? Responding to life well. That's what I left that with. To be truthful, that was one of the things I left with. I was like, man, I'm glad I'm not them. Like, and you're literally like a 24-hour news cycle in a weekend in a cottage back in the day. Like if the wrong information got up here with guys like you and me, we're not that far away from being them.
No, we're not. We're not. I mean, we're both very cynical, and we both approach the world from a why did they do that? Right. So we're in the boat behind them. Mm-hmm. Then that's the interesting thing for me, just watching this sort of metamorphosis of you and your approach to this group over the last couple of months is man, I wasn't involved in the Tom thing yesterday, and that was probably a good thing. But some of these conversations that we've been having lately, I'm like, holy crap, I'm not that far behind this individual in their belief structure. They've just gone over the cliff. I'm still standing at the edge, looking down at them going, why are you down there? But I'm just about ready to jump in with them.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, that's why I didn't scream and yell at Trudeau.
I'm another carbon tax increase away from swimming in the same fucking ocean.
But like that was like one of the most unattractive things about the last 2 years is all the people that complain about government. That's why I hate talking about it. That's why after the election in Ontario, I'm like, I'm not talking about Doug Ford. I'm not talking about the government. I'm not talking about fucking politics. I'm not talking about Trudeau.
Even today, when we were talking about our opinion of the Justin Trudeau Queen statement, there was a lot of people that were like, and they're not wrong. This is on you. This says way more about who you guys are. The fact that you can't stand him giving what might have been a heartfelt speech about the Queen, and we're sitting there going, oh my God, what a loser. Right? And they're probably not wrong, right?
No, it's all about you, man. That's the difference maker. If you want to make a difference in your life, and we'll let you hang up now today. That's Lachlan Cross, 957 Cruise FM in Edmonton, at Lachlan Cross on Twitter. But Lach, that's the one thing that you and we talk about this, and this is like being serious for a second. If I could be serious for a second. You and I talk almost daily. You and I talk about these things.
We do talk daily.
Almost daily. We talk about getting better at life all the time. And my goal for all the people that are still angry about vaccines and mandates and masks, which is fucking over, man. Like, I know we're all sick. I know that people are dying at a record right now. I find it incredibly sad. And my heart goes out to those families. But the truth is that what I really want is for the pandemic of irresponsibility, non-accountability. I would love for those people to have happy lives, not be that miserable. I'd like for them to be accountable, because happier them is happier us, right?
I agree.
Conversations with them that we can have, non-emotional conversations, intellectual, fun conversations, digging into what someone truly believes. These are human beings, whether we hate them or not, whether we completely disagree with somebody else, we should still have the ability to sit down and go, I got your back as a human, right?
Whether we didn't do that.
No.
And a lot of us made that mistake, and I think our public officials did that. And I think it created more issues.
Doing it.
And I think the unintended consequence of that is just adding fuel to the fire that gets them up every day and continues to make them angry, because, and a lot of it, they're not wrong. A lot of the results of what we went through, and a lot of the fallout of what we continue to go through, dude, there's hundreds of people dying in this country from overdoses. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, and that's pandemic related. That increase is pandemic
domestic
related.
Abuse,
and we're not
related.
We are not dealing with that. A guy just fucking ran around Saskatchewan stabbing a bunch of people. Mm-hmm. I mean, we'll never know what the motive was there, but I'm telling you that probably had something to do with the pandemic, or at least it exasperated the issues that man was dealing with, right? Mm-hmm. Fuck. Yeah. Harry, I don't know what the answer is sometimes, right?
I think I do to some extent, and I think the answer is to calm the fuck down. Yeah. And it's to try to have a conversation. Not an emotional fucking trigger set. Not like, oh, I'm going to fucking lose it if I have to fucking see another one of those fucking losers. Dude, have I given a lot of people on overpasses fingers? And have I sworn at a lot of people with upside down flags on their car at stoplights? Yeah, I have. You can't do it anymore. We can't. We just can't. Those people are going to do what they do. Everybody's going to be what they are. Everybody's going to do what they do. And it is about being ruthless with myself. It's about you being ruthless with yourself. And it's about us moving forward. And hopefully some people on that side of the equation decide that they want to do the same thing. And listen, hate Tom all you like. I had a conversation with Mary Ann today, who lived downtown. Mary Ann Iverson, Let's Take This Outside podcast. She watched the podcast with Tom yesterday. She was greatly mentally affected by it.
Lived in Ottawa.
Yeah, lived
through this whole thing.
Right there. Couldn't sleep. Paul, same thing. Blue Jacket guy who's in on the podcast right now today in the comment section. Same thing. I mean, we've seen all the videos of him trying to fucking do work and the horns blaring and stuff like that. And all of those people had to get help after this whole thing. I mean, we're like, no, this is about me. I'm going to go get help. They're not taking it out on anybody else. And my hope is that those people on the other side of the equation start doing the exact same thing for themselves, because that's really the only thing that we have, right? Dictate your experience on this planet.
Look after yourself too.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for doing this, dude. Appreciate it.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
I needed that one today. That was good. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for doing this. Great to see you. Empty Nester. Lachlan Cross, 957 Cruise FM in Edmonton. going to buy his first empty nest house, moving into a condo, downsizing. He's going to get a smaller coffee machine. He's going to sell his lawn equipment. He's going to sell his snowblower. No more snow blowing, dude. You're done.
I was told by the wife too that I had to get rid of my rowing machine and my inversion table.
Oh, how's that going?
Well, the fact that I never use the inversion table or the rowing machine is making the decision easier for me.
Okay. See, that's what you do too. The second you become an empty nester, all the exercise equipment the CD wall's got to go too.
It's got to go too, and I'm not dealing with that very well. I haven't played a CD in probably about 15 years, but I still am having trouble letting go. I'll keep you posted on that.
Because you're attached to that. That's not just about the music. That's about a career, right?
I'll figure it out. I'll get there.
Let me know if you need some help. Just burn it in the backyard. You're in Edmonton. Just burn them all in the backyard. Yeah, do it. Talk to you soon. Lock and Cross, 957 Cruise FM in Edmonton. Thanks, everybody. Kareem Assad's going to be up with James DeFiore, Blackballed the Podcast, 7 p.m. tonight. My very good friend, Kareem Assad. Follow her as well, Kareema Rules on Twitter. James DeFiore will be up at James DeFiore on Twitter as well, Blackballed the Podcast. If you're looking for something else to watch that might be interesting, I have no idea what they're going to talk about, but I think Kareem is a fucking superstar, and James is a man, too. So feel free to stick around and watch that. It'll be here at It's Dean Blundell as well. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Dean Blundell Show, Twitch, Dean Blundell TV. And, of course, what we could do, if you want, is sign up for our newsletter at deanblundell.com. I'd really appreciate that. Pick and choose, a la carte, what you want us to send you. If you don't want us to send you anything, don't sign up. But it is a great way to sift through stuff and not have to actually go to the website, deanblundell.com, which you can, which has a whole bunch of great stuff, including a story about the Queen today. And pretty much anything else, including several brand new podcasts, including our Down by Two podcast. Check it out. Sports betting, football, basketball, hockey. Yes, please. Yes, please. Yes, please. But they're all there. Over 100 different podcasts at deanblundell.com. Please check it out. If you see something there, subscribe to it. We'd appreciate it. So would the folks who do some work around here. And we want to thank our sponsors and friends at kivlaw.ca. Always, always, always. We are powered by kivlaw.ca. If you're looking for a defense attorney, Southern Ontario, you need someone to hold your hand through a legal proceeding and you kind of put it off. Or if you didn't do something and someone's saying you did and there are legal ramifications for, or if you did something and you're like, man, I got to clean up my life. I want to protect my freedom and I need the best legal advice possible. Kivlaw.ca. Email Robert today, robert@kivlaw.ca. These are my friends. These are wonderful human beings that approach the law from your perspective and trying to keep you on the straight and narrow. So money well spent. Give them a call, send them an email, kivlaw.ca. Kivlaw Defense Attorneys, or Robert at kivlaw.ca as well. Ed's Fine Imports, his Gitch. We wear them. So could you. Gitch3 is your promo code. Luxury branded underwear. I can't tell you enough how much I love these underwear. You know, everybody's got a thing. Like some people like a certain kind of sock. Some people like a certain kind of shirt. I'm big on black T-shirts. Went great today. Just whatever. It's laundry day. I like a certain kind of jean. I am like crazy for a certain kind of underwear. Has to be boxer briefs. Have to have a pouch in the front. And when I went to Ed and I said, dude, do you sell any of those underwear? He's like, thinking of making some. Thinking of making my own. He did. They're Canadian made. edsfineimports.com. Gitch3 is your promo code. Order from a Canadian guy. Get the best luxury underwear with the pouch in the front, boxer briefs, great band, so breathable. Get them today. I can guarantee you'll love them. They'll be the only underpant you buy ever again. I can guarantee it. Will I give you anything if you say these aren't the best? No, nothing. But that's just my guarantee to you. My friendly guarantee. edsfineimports.com. Gitch3 is your promo code. It'll send you a free pair when you order 3 or more. Massive online store, too. Clothing for men and boys at edsfineimports.com. And, of course, Easy Auto Financial. Our friends at Easy Auto Financial help you get into a great vehicle. They really do. They take care of your financing. It doesn't cost you a dime. And then they do a little turnkey action where they'll go, yeah, we'll fill out the forms. We'll take care of all the details. All you got to do is show up to that dealer that you told us you wanted the car from with this financing that we got you for free. It's all yours. It's never been easier to buy a car with our friends at Easy Auto Financial. Trust me, I know. Again, another wonderful Canadian company, great Canadian people that are here to get you in a vehicle. Don't worry about your credit rating. Go to easyautofinancial.ca for more details today. And again, don't forget to sign up for a newsletter. That'd be nice. Have a great day, everybody. Appreciate you being here. Rate, subscribe at YouTube. And we'll see you tomorrow, 3 o'clock, right here. Friday, end of the week.
Bye.
Let's do because we haven't answered that question. What do you say to people who are in counseling today because they have PTSD from air going for 3 weeks and they think that they're all the shit that happened because that was an occupation, wasn't a protest. You were and I think people want to hear that part. Like, what is it that you would say to these people who are really suffering to this day because of what it is that you guys decided to do? And then the last part of that question, what would you say to them? And whose idea was it to blare the horns?